I heard that Trump was appearing on Sean Hannity's show. And so one of the things that I realize we do as sort of a movement, all of us, or as avid political viewers, but definitely as political commentators, is control for the insanity. Meaning, I go into the day assuming Trump's going to be crazy, assuming his defenders are going to say wild stuff, which then makes my presentation of it sometimes, and definitely my consumption of it, less aligned with how crazy it actually is. Because if you feel like, of course this is going to happen, you're not actually going to understand the magnitude of it. And so I decided I was going to sit down, and we did here in the office, 9 p.m. Eastern, watch Trump's Sean Hannity interview as if I'd never seen anything about Trump, about Hannity, about any of this political stuff, and just completely, with a fresh slate as much as I can, hear each individual thing as freshly as possible. And when you do that, you realize even more how bonkers the normal stuff is that Trump says. How every time he's asked a question, he self-destructs, he implodes, and somehow this version of talking about politics appeals to some people. So let's walk through this interview with Hannity on his show, starting with, this is what I mean. A regular politician says what you're about to hear. It's 24 hours of coverage. Trump says it, no one's going to talk about this. But here it is. While you're listening and watching, please do remember to click the subscribe button. And if you're not subscribed, I've told you before, but our analytics say that the amount of people who watch this on a regular basis daily, but who aren't subscribed by happenstance, if all of you subscribed, we'd instantly cross 1 million subscribers, which would be unbelievable. Thank you to everyone who already has. Here is Trump.
We would have been supplying oil and gas to China, to all of Asia. It's Alaska, to Japan. It would have been unbelievable. We would have been paying down debt. He comes in and he rejects it because the environmentalists reject it. It has nothing to do with the environment. It's good for the environment.
When you say energy,
as Aaron Rupar wrote, Trump claims that drilling for oil, I don't even know how to say this, is good for the environment. Now we'll get to the subject that Hannity was really panicked about and was trying to get Trump to address in a way that would put this issue to rest. But just to spend a little bit longer on that, why does Trump, as the only person compared to all of his counterparts in politics, get away with just saying stuff like that? And we're not even going to talk about it more than this. The mainstream media won't even notice that moment, because there's going to be so much other crazy stuff that Trump has said and done in the last 24 hours. I guess that's the reason, but it's crazy that that is the case. And we need to hurry up and get to our anti-Kamala segment so we can prove that we're not too biased, even if her speech didn't have the dishonesty that Trump's did, wasn't exhibiting the dangerousness that Trump's did, was more coherent than Trump's was, etc. But no, it's not good for the environment. And also, you have these two simultaneous points. Biden and Harris are trying to make strides in juicing up the renewable energy sector, in investing there, in incentivizing development there, innovation there, because we do need a lot of progress before we could get to a fully renewable energy future. Doing that while unleashing the power of American energy, including fossil fuels, which is why we're seeing the record oil production, which is not good for the environment. But is that balance, the argument goes, of doing a transition that doesn't hurt a consumer? Trump then comes in and does this weird anti-renewable energy thing. Oh, the wind, the noise causes cancer, they say, but doesn't articulate how he sees a transition, if any, and I don't think he sees any, and then justifies his stance by just pretending something is the case that is so against all of the science ever in the history of studying such a thing. And then you're thinking, okay, well, it can't get more absurd than that, can it? hold Trump's beer.
And yet they do it. Maybe it's because they want to destroy the country. I don't know.
Or gender-affirming care for minors.
Sure.
Care without parental consent.
So a young man leaves for school and goes to school, and the authority takes him over without parental consent, and they do things to him that you don't want to know about? I mean, is this supposed to be America? I don't think so.
That doesn't sound
These
like...
people are radical people. And let me tell you, she's not a smart person. She's a low IQ individual. I've said it for a long time. She speaks so slowly. Everything's so slow. She thinks of answers. They ask her a question. She talks about she was grown up with a lawn growing on her front yard. Everything is like crazy.
I don't know if he's just talking about himself, but then switching out the pronoun with her to talk about heirs. What? On 2 parts of that clip, I have the same response. You check it. Audience, MAGA, independents, all of you just, y'all, I don't need to make some argument as to how, no, Harris is actually the more coherent one than Trump. Because she demonstrates that on a daily basis. I don't need to argue that. Go watch her speech. Go watch her interview. Watch his speeches, watch his interviews. Compare and contrast. You can do the work. And I know that you'll come to the correct conclusion. But I guess a lot of MAGA followers don't actually ever go check. They just will watch, in some cases, literally slowed down clips of Vice President Harris. There was a clip they were caught slowing it down to 80% so it would look like she was kind of drunk. And then they said, wow, she drunk, or something like that. Maybe that's what Trump's talking about when she says that she's slow. Is a fake, the complete fake clip of her. But in all of these cases where he'll criticize her intelligence or her ability to articulate herself, it's such projection. And then same exact point I have on him saying a young man leaves for school and goes to school and the authority takes him over without parental consent and they do things to him that you don't want to know about, talking about transgender operations. If you're a parent, I'm only speaking to the parent. If you're just some non-parent out there pretending like you really are worried about this as an issue, just take a breath for a second, because it's not. Okay? But then parents, I'm only speaking to you now. If you actually think that your kids are being sent to school and without your consent are having transgenders, or with your consent at school are having transgender operations, if you think any operations are going on of a transgender nature, or any surgeries at all for that matter, at school, if you think that's a thing, then I guess vote for Trump, okay? Because I don't know what world you're living in. But every other parent out there, maybe you vote against the pathological liar. Then, Hannity was very panicked, as is MAGA. Reports of the Trump campaign being livid about this Hinchcliffe comedian guy, Tony Hinchcliffe, I think it is. And he made the comment about how Puerto Rico is a floating pile of garbage, I think was the exact language. And this has caused issues. We went through the electoral outcomes of this and how this could impact people there, but also just emphasizing the hateful movement that is MAGA. And so there's a lot of backpedaling going on. Hannity was desperately trying to get Trump to save himself on this. Didn't do very well.
With Hispanics, but I've had really great relationship with Puerto Rico and people from Puerto Rico. They love, every time I go outside, I see somebody from Puerto Rico. They give me a hug and a kiss.
Every time, yeah. Every time I go outside, every single person who supports Trump says, actually, I don't, and they love me, and they watch my show every day, and they think that Trump's an idiot. Okay? And then furthering on this justification.
What they've done is taken somebody that has nothing to do with the party, has nothing to do with us, said something, and they try and make a big deal. But I don't know who it is. I don't even know who put him in. And I can't imagine it's a big deal.
I can't imagine it's a big deal. This is a speaker that was at Trump's rally. And it was funny. We talked about in a different segment today, but I think the segment will come out on tomorrow's main show. So on yesterday's show, if you're a full show viewer. But we talked about how on the Piers Morgan panel, Piers Morgan said, yeah, well, okay, the Tony Hinchcliffe thing at the Madison Square Garden thing was terrible, but that was just one thing, and it was a long rally. And I'm sure if you went to a Harris rally at some point, something terrible would be said. And Mehdi Hasan's point was, no, I went to the DNC. I've witnessed these sorts of long rallies, and never does someone come out and just insult Americans like that. That's just not an issue. The hatred doesn't spew out of these rallies like it does, unfortunately, too often at MAGA rallies. I will continue to repeat, I don't want to believe, I'm telling you, MAGA, I don't want to believe that you're personally, as someone who knows a lot of MAGA folks very personally, very intimately, and I love many of them, I don't want to believe you're motivated by hatred. I don't want to believe the worst about why you believe what you do, why you support what you do. I want to believe that you just got some incorrect information. If you could be corrected on it, you would actually abide by better values. And when you justify that type of stuff, or you justify much of the stuff Trump says, you make it so difficult to believe the best. Then you have more on this. Hannity trying.
I don't even know if you were there for the whole thing. I don't know what time you got there. I was told and made aware that you had no idea about this comedian who made comments.
I have no idea who he is. Somebody said there was a comedian that joked about Puerto Rico or something, and I have no idea who he was. Never saw him, never heard of him, and don't want to hear of him. But I have no idea. They put a comedian in, which everybody does. You throw comedians in. You don't vet them and go crazy. It's nobody's fault. But somebody said some bad things. Now, what they've done is taken somebody that has nothing to do with the party, has nothing to do with us, said something, and they try and make a big deal. But I don't know who it is. I don't even know who put him in. And I can't imagine it's a big deal. I've done more for
Oh, and that's the next talking point.
Puerto Rico than any president, I think, that's ever been president.
I heard that. I was playing this, and I heard away from me, producer Jaden was sitting way away from me, and I heard him go, ugh, because Trump says that about every subject. I've done more for this. I've done more for that. How do you figure that? He's once said that he did more for Black Americans than any president, maybe even than Abraham Lincoln. Ugh. Just the crazy world Trump lives in. But remember this NBC News headline. New probe confirms Trump officials blocked Puerto Rico from receiving hurricane aid. The Trump administration also obstructed an investigation looking into why it was depriving the U.S. territory of congressionally approved funds, the report found. Not so much Donald. He also said this.
They accused me of being a Hitler-type guy.
Hitler-type guy? No, we accuse you of saying things that the people who worked right alongside you said that you said. Oh, we also accuse you of saying things you said publicly on camera in front of millions of people. We're not saying you are Hitler, or you're the new Hitler, or you're exactly like Hitler, or any of those things that you strawman our argument to be. We're saying we are concerned by the parallels between rhetoric you choose to use, authoritarian impulses you seem to have, and that of past and present dictators. That's our argument. If you can't engage with that intellectually, and the only thing you can say in response is, he's not Hitler, he's not, then you don't, that was going to be mean. Then bad on you. Okay? Next clip.
A role for Elon Musk.
So Elon has a lot of roles he could take because he's a very exceptional guy. But he has a thing. He feels there's such waste, fraud, and abuse in our budgets. And he's right.
Yeah, Trump does this so often. People will ask him, "Sir, how are you going to make America healthy again?" As you say at the end of your speeches. And how are you going to address the ultra processed foods and the issues that come of that health wise and the obesity crisis, etc. And Trump goes, Bobby Kennedy, he loves women, he loves health, and he loves something else Trump will list. And I'm going to let Bobby take care of it. Then here he gets asked about cutting waste, and he goes, Elon Musk, he says he wants to do it. He's going to do it. Again, I say, I just don't get how MAGA goes, noish. That's perfect. I could do that too. You could say, how are you going to address obesity in America? Jaden, producer Jaden, he knows all about that. He's going to fix it. He said he's going to fix it. I believe him. That's the end of my answer. Yeah, but I want you to understand what Jaden's going to do. No. Trust me. Jaden loves women and he loves health. And and that's how he's going to address it. And if you think I'm being funky because you don't know the clips I'm talking about, these are directly quoted aside from the Jaden part. The women part from Trump's answer in the barbershop about Bobby Kennedy about ultra processed food. And that no serious person would take that. Oh, that's perfect. But Trump gets to do that. And then he gets asked about how are you going to cut waste or what are you going to do on this or that? And he just goes, oh, well, Elon Musk, he has a rocket, and the rocket, oh my gosh, this rocket, it comes down and it goes into a little circle, and the circle, think about that, fire, bang, bong, boom, down in the circle, and the circle reminds me of Biden's circles. Do you remember Biden's circles? He won 81 million votes, but he didn't actually win that because I won, but I didn't win. They say I lost, but I didn't lose, but they say I lost by whisker, but I only mean whisker because I didn't lose because I won because I'm the best. And that's supposed to be a good argument on cutting wasteful spending. And then Trump also repeats a lot that no one's ever going to ever going to notice, I should say, cutting trillions of dollars from our budget because Musk will do it in such a beautifully perfect and flawless way. If it was that easy, I think someone would have done it before. But maybe the guy who jumps around on stage and goes rah at Trump rallies is going to be the one to figure it out. Then Trump said this.
Are a little bit more aggressive. Our country is a crime-ridden country. When they go into department stores and they strip the store, and our police are standing out there wanting to do their job, but they're told, stand down, don't touch anybody. And they're walking out with refrigerators, and they're walking out with air conditioners. And there's hundreds of...
They let them walk.
Imagine being Sean Hannity, or being Donald Trump, or being Vivek Ramaswamy. He was the person on with Hannity before Trump. That's the only reason he's on my mind. Or being any number, Laura Ingraham, as someone once called her, Laura Ingraham, or any of these people, and realizing, oh, I can just go on the air and say stuff that would be advantageous to my argument. I don't have to see if it's true. I don't have to present data. I can just say stuff. Their jobs, while morally devastating, are the easiest things you've ever seen in your life. Because I've said it so many times, but when I'm speaking on the show where I prep a segment, it has to be supported by evidence, claims that I'm making, things that I'm asserting. For them, they get to go, oh yeah, and you can just go rob stores now in Biden's America, and police won't care. They won't do anything. They'll stand there and they'll go, I salute you. Not true. Shoplifting isn't worse than it was under Trump. And that's not at all how law enforcement deal with it. But they say it. And how do you deal with a movement that has detached itself from truth this much? How do you combat it politically, democratically? How do you compete in the marketplace of ideas when followers go, yum, 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 give me the junk food of lies? Because it feels better. I don't know. I really don't. Let me know what you thought in the comments of this Hannity interview, the big primetime Trump Hannity interview. And support the show. Get the bonus show by clicking that join button below.